always easy 'cause I'm beautiful. La 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 la. Hello loves and welcome back to my channel. I'm Anjuli and I'm so glad you decided to come back here and let's talk about self-love, okay? And where to start in your self-love journey. So maybe you're starting your self-love journey after a big life change, after moving or maybe going through a big breakup. That is definitely the ultimate time to start a self-love journey. Or maybe you just realized you could use a little bit more love for yourself. I wanted to give you some very practical, real, I think all my tips are free. Yeah, actually all of my tips are free or cheap. Tips to kind of get started on that self-love journey, because I know that if somebody told me that I needed to start loving myself, I literally would be like, how? Like, what do you mean? Where do you even start? It feels like such a daunting task. So I wanted to give you some practical things that you can implement into your life on the daily to get you started. The first thing I have is you need to talk to yourself more often. Now, obviously I'm talking to a camera, which is like I'm talking to you, but like I'm really talking to the camera. I'm talking to no one. I am queen of talking to myself. I spend a lot of time alone. I have 2 dogs, and as much as I love them, let's be real, I am talking to myself most of the day, okay? And you can do this verbally, much like I do, or you can do it in a journal. Journaling counts as talking to yourself, or because sometimes I get into almost like a paralysis of some sort, where I'll start to write and then I'll get more focused on the writing than on my actual feelings or thoughts coming out of me. So what I actually started to do was just do voice notes, just record myself speaking out loud. And this helps. It's like, if you want to have, I often think of like Sims, you know how they have those relationship meters? I don't know if the new Sim still has that, but back in the day, Sims used to have the relationship meter, and as you talk to people, even if you had small talk, the relationship would build. That's the same principle with yourself. You need to build a relationship and a friendship with yourself. And how do you expect to do that if you don't have conversations with yourself, right? So how do you expect to love yourself if you don't talk to yourself, if you don't really start to form that bond and that relationship? So talking to yourself is number 1. And this next thing kind of actually plays off the idea of building that relationship with yourself, but doing something for yourself daily, like having miniature dance breaks. I am always singing, I'm always dancing in my house, and it's just something that it's like literally 3 to 5 minutes that I dedicate to myself to just let it all loose and have fun, because I love dancing. Or cooking dinner for yourself, even if you just cook one of those pre-made a HelloFresh meal or something. And doing something like that, cooking yourself a nice dinner, maybe buying yourself a bouquet of flowers to have in a vase while you eat that dinner, something like that. Doing just daily things. That doesn't have to be daily, but just doing things on the daily that almost like you would want a lover to do for yourself. I always say you can be your own best lover, and that's not to negate or get rid of romantic love, because I do think that can be a very important aspect for some people in their life journey. But I do think that there's a lot of things that you look for in other people that you can actually provide for yourself as well. And that the daily acts of love, acts of service, the acts of service for yourself are just going to create those happy endorphins running in you. They're going to give you those happy, good feelings. Like when I run myself a bath, and I give myself the bath with the candles and the bubbles and the bath oils. There's just something so luxurious about, yes, just a bath, but the idea that I took special time. And I also feel the difference when I just run myself a bath, right? Those little extra touches in there just makes me feel like I'm really taking care of myself. And ultimately, that's what you want to feel like. It's hard to love something if you're not actively taking care of it. Do those daily little things, take little moments for yourself, those little tasks, and use them to remind yourself that you are taking care of yourself and you're something that is worthy. You're someone that is worthy of being taken care of. So this is my final tip. Quick video, I know, but honestly, I just wanted to create something to just help you get started, like I said. The final thing is to find people like you online or in media and follow them, okay? I talk about this a lot, but I grew up one of Black people in my school. I mean, I had my siblings, but like we were the only Black kids in our school. So a lot of the things that I saw, a lot of media, especially because back then media wasn't the same way that it is now. We also didn't really have social media until I think in 11th or 12th grade, definitely not until I was older, but I never really got to help shape what kind of media I was taking in. And now we are in a great time. I know that, we talk about the pitfalls of social media, but we're in a really great time in social media where you actually are able to curate your feeds and make sure that you are getting more representation of yourself and take advantage of that. Make sure that in my case, I'm following more people that are Black because I needed to see that more versions of Black and to see that my Black is beautiful. So I had to make the important distinction of following people that looked like me, people that had bodies similar to mine and weren't necessarily all stick thin or had those influencer Fitspo bodies, and also finding people that had style similar to mine. The jackpot for me especially is when I can find other like pinup or goth Black women just like I feel, because it's such a niche thing. I feel like it's not that we don't exist, but it is such a niche thing and it is so awesome when I can find people that get what I'm doing online, like, oh, right? It is so worth it to take that time to find those people though, because just seeing more of yourself is just inherently going to make you feel better because you're going to see the things that are in you in these other people and go, oh my God, like that's so cool. Or maybe that you didn't even notice it or something on them, but it is the same on you. And you'll start to gain a neutrality and maybe even a love and appreciation for you and your features and your thoughts and your style. And it's just, honestly, like I said, I know we have such harsh and very valid critiques of social media, but this is just one of the amazing things that social media is able to do is curate community and curate representation. And I just really implore you to make your house your house. Social media is an extension of your home. Make it your home and make it somewhere where you enjoy being and not somewhere that makes you feel like you need to be critical of yourself. And so just take that time to really analyze the kind of media you're taking in. Take that time to maybe go out of your way and look at maybe media that looks like you, but maybe doesn't fully represent you, so you wouldn't normally look at it. Take the time to look at it anyway, because maybe you still might find bits of yourself in it. And in a lot of cases, every little bit counts. Like it's not like my aesthetic is all natural girls aesthetics, but I actually do get a lot of valid information, a lot of valid affirmation by following it, because it reminds me that like my hair, my 4C hair is worthy of being taken care of and how beautiful it can look sometimes. Even if I don't rock my natural hair, it's still nice to get the confirmation that my hair is still beautiful anyway. And actually, I'm gonna give you a little bonus Jonas tip. Is it a tip or maybe a closing sentiment? But loving yourself, much like a lot of things in life, is a journey. And I know that my platform is built on self-love, but I've started to talk more openly about the fact that at one point, I didn't really love myself as much as I think other people thought I did. And in fact, there are times when my self-love just goes up and down. When I was in my depression era, it was down in the pits. And you know how I can tell I'm in a higher point right now is I'm just taking the time. I'm taking the time to take care of myself. I'm taking the time to remind myself that I am worthy of being taken care of. But you have to be okay. And I know it's hard to sometimes be okay with not being 100% all the time, but you have to be okay with those ebbs and flows, with those highs and those lows, because that's just what journey is. That's what life is. That's what love is. Sometimes you're more in love with things. Sometimes you're a little bit less in love with things, but it's all okay. It's just, that's the balance of life. You can't have the yin without the yang, The goal of self-love is not to make it so that you love yourself 100% of the time, right? The goal is actually to love yourself enough to give yourself grace for those times when you're not as lovable. The goal is to make sure that you love yourself so that when you do make mistakes, when you're not as perfect as maybe you wanted to be, that you can still love yourself enough through it. It doesn't mean that you don't feel bad. It doesn't mean that you don't feel guilt. It doesn't mean you don't feel hurt or, you don't recognize your mistake. It just means that you are able to love yourself enough through those situations to recognize that you are a human. You will make mistakes. You will do whatever you're going to do because humans are gonna human, and you love yourself through that moment so that you can get yourself through the other side. Because that's sometimes the hardest part of making mistakes, right? Is you make a mistake and then you kind of feel like a shit person, right? But it's important that you love yourself while you kind of feel like shit, right? It's important that you love yourself enough to allow yourself to feel those feelings, to heal, and maybe even fix some of the mistakes you've made. And so I hope that this gives you all a very good, at least starter point in your self-love journey. I have a couple more topics that I really want to talk about because I really do love self-love. It is kind of the whole thesis of my bringing, is love. Love is the word of my life. I love love. Love is the theme, not the word, the theme of my life. And I love love. And, giving that love to myself for the first time, I think this will be the first decade where I'm walking into it with actual full unadulterated love for myself. I want to be able to extend some, education, some help to maybe other people that are where I was when I was younger. So until next time, I'm gonna write it down because I said this phrase at the end of my last video and I absolutely adore it, and I think I want to use it as my closing tag, but I'm gonna write it down here so you can see it and still get the same sentiment. And thank you so much for watching, and until next time, bye.